On this AVNation special, InfoComm 2021 has been postponed to the fall. October 22nd through the 29th are the new dates. We sit down with AVIXA CEO David Labuskes on the decision to make the move and what it means for the industry moving forward. All that and more next on this AVNation special.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is an AVNation special update on InfoComm 2021. It's Tim Albright with AVNation with an AVNation special. InfoComm 2021, the trade show, the North American trade show put on by AVIXA, currently is scheduled for June 12th through the 18th. However, we have gotten notification from AVIXA that they are now moving it, rescheduling InfoComm 2021 to October 23rd through the 29th. Of course, those dates for those early dates are going to be the education 27th through the 29th are the days of the show. With us to discuss this is AVIXA CEO, Mr. David Labuskes. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim. Great to be here.
Great to have you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us. A couple things here, real quickly. This is the first part of the year, the first quarter, right? The first part of February. Typically, a year ago, actually, you and I and a bunch of other folks were getting ready for ISC, Integrated Systems Europe 2020, last one in Amsterdam. That has been postponed. But I want to walk through the last year here or so. And kind of talk about the process. Before I do that, though, I want to bring up a couple of quotes that you have in your release. And I think this is one, and the most important one, at least I think, to the members of AVIXA and those in the industry. You say, quote, "Throughout my tenure, AVIXA has been committed to two fundamental priorities: to be the hub of the AV professional community, as well as act as a catalyst for growth for the AV market." Given that is your tenets, your foundation, does that help you make this decision the first part of the year, the first quarter, the first half of even of the first quarter?
Yeah, absolutely. Those sort of fundamental guiding principles were defined by our board of directors in my first or second year on the job, and I have embraced them and lived with them as touch points for every big decision. We've talked about this before, whether it's been on your show or in person, Tim, about the fact that the sort of the blessing and the curse of being the CEO of a not-for-profit is I don't have shareholders, and the blessing side of that is that we can make decisions that are focused more on mission than on business. The curse is that we get evaluated based on qualitative and emotional factors rather than on share price. And it's challenging to make 1 million people around the world happy with every decision that you make. In fact, it's impossible. As we started, these issues, these guiding thoughts impacted the decisions we made with respect to holding ISE last year. They were at the core of the decision we made about canceling InfoComm last year. And they are concepts, they are touchstones, I guess this is a great phrase for it, that we go back to as we decide everything. What should we offer free education for our members? Should we charge dues? Should we have a trade show? Should we fill in the blank? And then the questions that follow that are, does it allow us or enhance our ability to support the AV professional community? Or does it contribute to the growth of the AV market? Holding a trade show is at the core of delivering both of those. It's the ultimate physical manifestation of both of those principles. It's why I see trade shows as part of our strategy, why I see trade shows as part of our identity as an association. There are associations out there that look at trade shows as this is how we generate our money so that we can then deliver on our mission. Yeah. And I respect that. I just don't share that perspective. To me, the trade show is the physical manifestation of community and market growth, catalyst being a catalyst for market growth. And I'm specific about that because I don't think we as AVIXA can grow the market. I think that's up to those in the marketplace, the manufacturers, the software developers, the installers, the distributors. They're the ones that are going to actually increase sales, but we can be a catalyst for that. We can communicate the message of importance of AV, the strategic value of investing in AV. We can reach out to audiences that perhaps individual manufacturers can't reach. All of that, again, is emphasized during a trade show. It's why we do trade shows all around the world, is further to commit to that global industry and bring the market together, bring the participants of the market together to learn from each other and share experiences, and to bring buyers and sellers together.
Let's talk about that global part, right? Because you did AVIXA, the organization was able to have a number of in-person trade shows. InfoComm China, the one more specifically the one I'm thinking of. But you also pivoted and did a number of virtual events, including InfoComm, right? InfoComm US, the North American one, with InfoComm Connected, InfoComm the show you do in InfoComm India was virtual. Integrate Australia was virtual as well. So when you're looking at this year and you're looking you're postponing InfoComm in person in Orlando to October, is it something where you're looking to continue that, or having I hesitate to use the word hybrid because it's been overused, but having elements that you learned last year from InfoComm 2020, or is it just going to be this is InfoComm in Orlando, that's it, and if we have to cancel like you did last year, it's going to go virtual, or are there going to be elements of both?
Yeah, you distracted me with your comment about hybrid. So I'm trying to figure out how to say that we're going to pivot to hybrid in these unprecedented times.
Oh, good Lord. It's too early in the morning for me to drink that much, dude.
we need COVID cliche bingo, right?
Oh.
For conversations these days. I think this is another, it's really hard to not overuse some of the phrases that have been out there, because so many people are talking about the same thing, right? That's why this is happening. It's why certain words are getting used. I don't see digital versus physical as an either or. I see them as intertwined with each other. I think at the early stages of this, we all said, there's a potential of death of in-person, right? This is working. And I think, within months, we all realized, yeah, it works, but it doesn't work as well as being connected. There's not the same serendipity. There's not the same richness of experience. And it almost by definition can't be. It's similar to a good book and a great adaptation of the book to a movie, right? You don't turn it into a movie by filming the pages being turned and somebody reading it. That's an audio book, but it's not a movie. I think in the early stages of this, a lot of us were producing audiobooks and calling them movies. I think we were trying to present a substitute platform for a trade show in the digital space. I'm not a fan of that. I don't think I don't think it does justice to either. What I do believe is that the interplay of engagement, if we focus in on the community part first, if you can provide a gathering for individuals to be able to share experiences, to share knowledge, to get to know people, and you can provide that in a digital space, I think that has value. And I think at times that value can be reinforced by a time-bound event of some sort. We will have continued evolution of our digital presence. And if you look at InfoComm Connect in June compared to Go Virtual in November in Mumbai, and then DSign in December,
yeah.
You can actually just look at those three platforms and see an evolution of business model, value delivery, and engagement, and they continue to get better. I think the broad tent is a phrase that we always used about InfoComm. It's a mile wide and not an inch deep, but it's not a focused boutique event. It's talking about the breadth of our industry and all of the solutions and all of the components of those solutions. I think the digital environment of event is more suited to focused communities, smaller communities, sub communities, I should say, because I don't think they're separate from.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of words, Tim. I apologize. Yes, there will be a hybrid engagement with AVIXA and with AVIXA's membership, and that hybrid engagement will be leveraged as a platform for manufacturers and other participants who exhibit at a trade show to participate in that platform. But I don't see, and maybe I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I don't see a virtual exhibit floor. I haven't heard any exhibitors that have been particularly excited about that, or attendees that have been particularly excited about that. What we did do in India was create scheduled appointments and demos that actually had live people on either side that could actually participate on either side. So that becomes more like the product demo in the stand at a physical show, where you actually have a product engineer demonstrating it. Clearly not as rich, right? Because you're getting it through a screen, a 2D screen. So you can't touch it, you can't hear it, you can't see it. But you can get explained, you can learn about it, you can be enticed. That's the other part I like about digital, is that these digital events give people that would not make the investment of time and money to travel to a physical event because it's on the edge of their interest, may very well engage with the digital event because there's less friction to getting into that digital event. And then from that engagement, realize, wait a second, there's actually something for me here. And that's where we then start to bring additional audiences into the physical events. So I think we waste a huge potential for the future by thinking about this as an either or. And it's all about, how do you reinforce physical with digital, and how do you reinforce digital with physical, right? And look at it as one. Look at it as one community, back to one community and one marketplace that you are trying to deliver growth catalysts to.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we let you go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about Integrated Systems Europe. I mentioned the fact that a year ago we were all getting ready for that. And just as, the calendar happened, and not to rehash history, but that was the last major show that we here at AVNation went to. You and I saw each other there, and within a month we were sitting down and having this conversation about the cancellation of the in-person InfoComm 2020. Mr. Blackman, the gentleman who runs ISE, AVIXA owns 50%, CEDIA owns the other half. Has been doing some interviews and talking about the fact that they have moved it along with the FIRA to June. It was 2 weeks before InfoComm in 2021. No longer the case now. But one of the things I want to talk about here is that still seems early, right, to some people, because of some of the vaccines, because of some of the things that different countries are experiencing and their spikes. And I'm going to use a quote, and I did not hear this directly from Rashid Ska, the gentleman that runs BIAMP, but I'm certainly going to attribute it to him. And that is, the plan is the plan until it's no longer the plan. And I loved that quote because it's true, right? Folks, dealers went into 2020 going, this is our year, right? This is our plan until April hit, right? Or until March hit or May hit. And then that's no longer the plan. Right. When you look at rolling out, classrooms or whatever, the plan is the plan until it's no longer the plan for reasons outside of your control. So when you're looking at ISD and other shows that you have globally, what are you guys looking at as some of the mile markers to make sure that you guys are staying safe, but you're also making sure that your stakeholders are taken care of as well?
Yeah, I love that line, and I love that it is attributed to Rashid. Rashid's actually on our board of the ISE, and it really summarizes in 10 words or less your life and my life for the past year, but really for our entire career, right? It's just been so visible this year and such big decisions this year. The plan is the plan until it's no longer the plan. That implies there's a point in time where you have to change the plan. So I actually am a bit of a history buff, and there's also a lot of analysis about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that part of the reason that we were able to get through that crisis without actually experiencing global Armageddon is because President Kennedy made no decision sooner than he had to or later than he had to. That the decisions that he made were made at the moment that they most perfectly needed to be made. And part of what was described in respect to that is the fact that once you make a decision, you have eliminated options. As long as you hold off on the decision, you have options. We certainly, I mean, this relocation of time frame for InfoComm has been a consideration, and looking at all of the different aspects that we can control and impact with regards to ensuring we deliver a safe, or at least as safe as possible, an event as possible, have been in consideration since March of last year when we canceled the Las Vegas show. How do we deliver a show? And the answers to that question have changed every week. They change with respect to more science, more knowledge, more information, more understanding and mitigation. And now, of course, they're changing because of more treatments available and more vaccines available. Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is likely moving here in the United States for emergency use authorization next week, and has different logistical challenges with regards to it, and seems like it's going to make things even more available to people. It is impossible. Nobody, you quoted Rashid, I'll quote Randy Klein. Nobody knows what the situation is going to be with regards to public health in June on the planet. Nobody knows currently. So if you accept some of these givens, then I fully support Mike Blackman's decision that the plan is the plan until it's no longer the plan. And he's made it very clear that he's going to communicate that March 1st, if the plan is no longer the plan, everybody will know. So why is that? Well, that's because between now and March 1st, which it's hard for me to believe is really only 32 days, none of the attendees or exhibitors are going to have any economic impact, negatively or positively, with regards to this decision. So why make this decision in January or in early February? Make the decision as late as possible in order to maintain the options. You can't undecide. You can't say, okay, we're not going to have the show in June, and then change your mind and say, okay, we're actually going to have it. But you have to evaluate what is it that the exhibitors are giving up if we wait. There's nothing that is costing anybody any money other than actually Mike and AVIXA and CDO.
Well, there are certain outside of your control, right? There are certain deposits and monies that have to be paid to booth builders and people like that. There are some hard-ish dates in there that have nothing to do with you, that aren't right. Your dates. They're the people, right. Third parties.
But those start 90 days out from the show.
Okay, all right.
So that's why it's March, not May 1st. Okay. That's why it's March 1st, is because that's when you're making the commitments to the stand design, to the construction. You're putting deposits down. You're starting to make sign contracts for hotel blocks. you're making the hotel reservations, you're booking the flights. All of that starts then. If that started in November, then Mike would be making the decision in November, because it's not fair. You can't, remember, made the decision as late as possible, but no later than needed, right?
Yeah.
If you wait too long, then people are wasting money, and that's irresponsible. What's responsible is weighing all of these factors and identifying the right time to make the decision. These shows, back to Catalyst for Market Growth and Community, there are naysayers out there that are talking about the responsibility, irresponsibility of having the show, that aren't really, in my opinion, looking at how many jobs are created at the show. How many people do you know in your circle of friends, colleagues, Tim, that have gotten a job because of a conversation that they had at InfoComm?
Or switch jobs at
or
InfoComm.
Switch jobs, right? And I'll take it even to another level. How many mergers and acquisitions have occurred in this industry because company A exhibited across the aisle from company B?
Yeah.
These are real places of commerce. This isn't a boondoggle to hang out and have beer with a friend. These are places where business is transacted, where people get back to work. Not even mentioning the hundreds, if not thousands, of people that go back to work in the convention center, renting AV equipment, managing the delivery of AV equipment. The people in our family, right, that have been hurt by this pandemic go back to work when we have a trade show. There's a lot that is riding on this, and none of it has anything to do with whether or not AVIXA makes a profit or not, because whether AVIXA makes a profit or not isn't what our stakeholders care about. They're not shareholders, right? This all circles back.
They care that they make a profit, right? And that they're able to make those. Yeah.
And we are serving the industry by having this event. Now, we won't have an irresponsible event. We'll do everything we can and make the best judgments we can with all the information available to us to ensure that we do not do something that is unsafe and that is against the recommendations.
Let me bring up one really quick thing, and I want to sit down with you for a longer conversation about what an overarching what the overarching benefit of a trade organization is. That's a longer conversation that you and I don't have time for it today. But the reason I want to bring up local regulations, right? Because you just said we're going to follow the regulations. One of the fascinating things that I've learned or just been more exposed to over the course of this year is educating friends that don't live in the States about the interesting federation of the states, right, of the United States. Because especially friends that are in the UK and the different parts of the EU, we have 50 states here. We have 50 governors. I live in the state of Illinois. I live outside of the city of St. Louis, but I physically live in the state of Illinois. You live in Virginia, right? You and I have different regulations. You and I are different under different lockdown measures, depending on the time of the year and depending on our governors. InfoComm this year is held in the state of Florida, which different parts of last year was a higher pandemic infection rate. At times they went down. That state's regulations have been more lax than at least the state of Illinois. That I can't speak to Virginia because I didn't really, quite frankly, pay attention because I was more worried about, I know I'm a horrible person. But that's one of the things that is explaining to people that don't live here is how this dynamic works, right? Yes, the federal government can make certain recommendations. They can do certain things. But when it comes down to local regulations, it really does come down, politics is local, and that's kind of where that comes from. When you guys look at that, is there any sense of not comparison, contrast, but looking at going, why are the states doing this? And InfoComm China, for example, or Integrated Systems Europe does a program in Russia, has a trade show in Russia, or InfoComm India. You guys are comparing and contrasting. Are you learning anything, or what are you learning from these different regulations, or does it really just come down to infection rate, and that's kind of what's driving a lot of these governmental efforts and their kind of their regulations?
Well, you think value of trade organization, it shows is a long conversation that you just teed up.
Never
I'm
mind.
trying desperately to figure out how to give you a quick answer to this. I think it comes down to, yes. Oh, first of all, one embedded question in there is, are we learning anything? Absolutely. I mean, that's such a blessing that we have with regards to these shows all around the world at different times, is that, and I laid it out there, sort of the InfoComm Connect to the Go Virtual to eSign. And then if you look at the Rise series that Mike is supporting through ISE with the Next Web over the last several months, that are monthly engagements, another different business model. So yes, we are learning from those things. What it underscores is that, and I'm channeling Terry Friesenberg here, is that you make the decisions that are right for the market that you're in, right? I think one of the reasons our shows in Bangkok and India and in China and in Amsterdam and in Las Vegas are successful is because they don't try to be rubber stamps of themselves. They are, ISE, same industry, same passion, same love. ISE and InfoComm, even with a lot of the same exhibitors and attendees, they have very different feels. They're in a different market. They have different environmental factors that are influencing them. So when we look at a show in Europe, we're looking at the conditions in Europe, and we're looking at the sentiment of the people that would likely attend and or exhibit at that show. Mike has 700 contracts for exhibitors at that show. He's got over 400,000 square feet that's booked for that show. How many trade shows do you go to a year, Tim, that have over 400,000 square feet? I mean, that's a big show. And that's in, early 2021. Will some people cancel? Probably. Will some people book? Probably, between now and June. But that happens every year. I mean, there's always some churn and flux. Ultimately, at the core of it is health and safety recommendations of the authority having jurisdiction, right? So you must follow those. Cannot pass go with regards to those. And then it's sentiment. This came up in some of our earlier conversations about InfoComm and ISE, and unfortunately, I think got shifted a little out of context. And that we were talking about the fact that let's sort of acknowledge the realities of the world right now and expect that people will probably not want to travel as far or as much as they did previously. If you acknowledge that reality, then we would predict, not actually, it's a prediction, not a strategy. We would predict that there would be a more local focus at each of these shows. There would be less global attendance at each of the shows. I think that is going to continue to hold true for ISE. I think it'll be a smaller show than it's been in the past. I don't think there's anything apologetic that we should put out there about that. I think again, maybe this is another one of those, from these challenges, we have an opportunity to take a look at how do we truly judge the value of a trade show? Is it really how many people walk through the door, or is it the purpose of those people and how effectively that purpose was delivered? The few of the 700 or 1,000 exhibitors have 80,000 people stop at their stands, right? So it's an easy number, but we've had that conversation before too, that it's not necessarily the best number, and this is a great opportunity. Throughout this tragedy, we've had so many learning experiences as human beings, and each of them has been painful, as most learning experiences are. But they create an opportunity to lay out something new. And so now I'm losing track of my point, and you're being very
you're fine.
polite to let me babble on. I think we look at the conditions in Catalonia, in Barcelona, in Spain, in Europe, and we evaluate what is possible and what is appropriate, what people want. Ultimately, it's not what Mike wants. It's not what I want. It's not what CDO wants or you want. It's what serves the industry most effectively.
Yeah. All right. I'll leave you with one more quote. It's through challenge and resistance that we're able to grow, and that's how we grow. And that's just my own little. I don't even know where I picked that up from. So, Mr. David Labuskes, CEO of InfoComm and of AVIXA, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Always great to talk with you, Tim.
All right, and we will see you and the rest of your folks October 23rd.
Yes, you will.
In Orlando.
Great.
You can find them at infocommshow.org, infocommshow.org, and you can continue to register for the October event. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Find this program and a host of others, including our coverage of InfoComm 2021, October 22nd through the 29th of 2020. All that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.